Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Nisar Aziz with the program Our Society. The topic for today's program is the think tank. You know very well that we are discussing this topic from different perspectives, from different angles, and we are trying to involve the opinion builders, thinkers, intelligentsia, and all those people who are interested to put the ummah on the right direction. If you think ummah is a body, then think tank is its brain. If brain is not working perfectly, rightly, and then the body will not work effectively and efficiently, and in most of the cases it would be paralyzed. Now, you people sit alone, discuss different concepts, wonderful ideas, but your ideas are not streamlined. It means those ideas are just like the bushes in a barren land, and people are not making any best use of those. But if you want to plant them in a garden, then you are requested to join the think tank. Then your voice will be heard, and we will give meaning to it. Certainly there would be strength, but it will follow the concept of collective wisdom. And I alone certainly cannot do all of these things. So I need the support from the intelligentsia, and today I have invited two scholars in the studio. My first scholar is Dr. Mashook Ali. Dr. Mashook Ali is a big name, Alhamdulillah, and he did his doctorate in Islamic studies, served as a professor for many years in a university, worked as a dean. He is a recognized scholar and administrator. Currently he is working in the Birmingham City Council as a director. People know him as an administrator, but we know him as a philosopher, as a reformer, and as our teacher. And today you will listen to him, and certainly there would be many points explained by him, would be enjoyable, and he will highlight the importance, need, and the mechanism of this think tank. My second guest is Muhammad Khalilur Rahman Faisal. Dr. Faisal is running a college. He is a qualified business administrator, and he is a practicing philosopher. Now, when he says something, he means it, because he knows how to translate the theory into practice. We have discussed this concept for many weeks. In the beginning, he was asking me, why do we need this think tank? And now he is telling me, why do we need a think tank? And today you will listen to him as well. And let's start the discussion. The guests are there. I welcome doctors, both of you, in this studio, and thanks for your participation. Most welcome. Now, the viewers, we will start the discussion with Dr. Faisal first. And Dr. Faisal, would you tell us, guide us, why is there a need for a think tank, particularly for the Muslims community?
Thank you, sir. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So before we start discussion about think tank, we need to understand as a community, as a group of people, where we stand, which group we belong from, what we are, what our strengths are, weaknesses are, and why we are talking about a think tank now. Could we think about this 10 years ago or 15 years ago. If you look at as a community-wise, study shows we are a part of a collective society.
Right.
As Hofstede described the 5 dimensions of a society culture,
Right.
one of those is collectivism against individualism.
Right.
In an individual society, a child think about himself or herself as I,
Right.
part of a very immediate family.
Right.
You just only look after your immediate family, and you look after them, and when you are 18, then you moved out from your house, you have your own family, you have your own space and privacy and everything. In a collective society, our
Right.
kids and ourselves, when we're born, we think as we,
Right.
part of a bigger group. Myself, me, my mom and dad, grandparents, cousins. We
Right.
always think as a group of a bigger part. So study-wise, we are a part of a collective society, not an individual society. When we think, when there's any issue in our part, not just Asian side, even Middle East study shows they all are collective society as well.
Right.
But when there's an issue comes, we don't act as a collective thinkers. We are in small groups, and every group, they have their voices.
Right.
They have their own debates and everything, but there isn't any collective direction.
Right.
So on one side we are collectivist,
Right.
but when there is a need for collective voice,
Right.
we are in a small different groups.
Right.
That's why I think there's a need for us to think we should have a neutral platform
Right.
where all the Muslims should join, different age groups, different genders,
Right.
whatever part of the world you are from, your thinking and voice should go to that think tank.
Right.
And the main purpose of think tanks, let me just give you some idea. Think tanks started in 1970s,
Right.
and there are around about 7,000 think tanks.
Right.
That figure is from 2011. I think now it's going to be nearly 8,000. And the main purpose of a think tank to shape the public debate,
Right.
do different public debates and shape them,
Right.
collect the information, transfer the information and pass it to the politicians,
Right.
to the policymakers,
Right.
to the media.
Okay.
If a community doesn't have a think tank,
Right.
obviously it's a normal thing for a media to pick the black sheep from the community. Whatever you're going to do something bad,
Right.
it will be highlighted.
Right.
You are doing 10 good things, they won't come up.
Right.
Reason? Because you don't have one voice.
Right.
So that's I think the need for the think tank to have a collective voice.
Right.
And also nowadays, mostly politicians, if we do study, mostly politicians or governments, they try to get the information from the think tanks.
Right.
Because the government bodies, they don't have lack of information, they don't have the updated information.
Right.
The updated ideas, information they can get from think tanks
Right.
and shape their policies.
Right.
So we want to be the part, we want to make a think tank to be the part for the policymakers to shape their policy.
Right.
So this think tank that you are discussing will have different debates, different seminars,
Right.
different kind of qualitative and quantitative data
Right.
to process and pass it to the government, bureaucrats or the people who are making the policies.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Faisal.
Thank you.
It was very good discussion and you have made the point. Now I will request Dr. Mashook Ali to guide us how we can form this type of think tank who will be very effective, efficient and useful for the Muslim Ummah.
I think that what Dr. Faisal has highlighted is really important for us,
Right.
because the Muslim community now has been in Britain for 60 years
Right.
or more, since the Second World War in large numbers, although there have been small Muslim communities before that time.
Right.
But in fact, when you look at Birmingham in particular,
Right.
we have the largest Muslim community outside of London.
Right.
The Muslim community here numbers about, let's say, 250,000 at
Right.
least,
Right.
but I think it's more than that.
Right.
But when you look at the Muslim community, it's actually a community of communities,
Right.
because the Muslim community is not one community, unfortunately, at the moment. The Muslim community is divided, segregated on the basis of ethnicity. So we have Bangladeshis, Pakistanis, Somalis, Afghans, Iraqis, all living in Birmingham, where the common faith is Islam,
Right.
the common commitment is that of a Muslim.
Right.
We also have, because of that diversity, we also have Muslims speaking different languages.
Right.
In the past, the lingua franca, or the common language, interestingly, historically for Muslims, was Arabic.
Right.
And you can travel, migrate by camel or by donkey or by horse from Afghanistan
Right.
to Turkey,
Okay.
and the people in Afghanistan will understand you,
Okay.
and the people in Turkey will understand you because of a common language.
Okay.
Whilst we now have airplanes, we have motor cars, and we have all kinds of transportation, unfortunately, we are more now divided
Right.
in terms of language, because we have not maintained that common language.
Okay.
Then, because of globalization, the invention of the internet, people are now getting their information and their knowledge from different sources.
Oh.
So we're not united in terms of how we understand Islam,
Right.
and that is causing its own problems as well.
Internet is a threat or opportunity?
It's both. I think it's more of an opportunity, because if we use it rightly, it can actually unite our community.
Right.
Because today you can actually see what is happening in the Middle East
Right.
instantaneously,
Right.
as much as you can understand. You can see what is happening in Pakistan or Bangladesh or in Leeds or in Manchester or in London.
Right.
So that is the positive side
Right.
of the internet, and how we can use that to our advantage is something we need to think about, and that is one of the functions of the think tank.
Right.
Because of the diversity in the Muslim community, both in Birmingham and worldwide,
Right.
we need to have we need a number of strategies
Right.
to deal with the challenges that we are facing.
Right.
And unless we pick up those strategies,
Right.
we're not going to resolve some of the very important issues
Okay.
that confront the Muslim community in Birmingham.
Right.
So, for instance, we have high unemployment
Right.
amongst our young people in the
Okay.
Muslim community.
Right.
Interestingly, against all communities in Birmingham, we have the youngest community.
Right.
60% of our community is below the age of 35.
Okay.
So we are a very youthful community. And we need to understand that that youthfulness is an asset,
Okay.
because those people will become the future managers of the Muslim community,
Right.
but also the future managers and leaders of Birmingham
Right.
as a city.
Okay.
And for them to be able to do that, they need a number of things.
Okay.
They need knowledge, they need skills, they need experience.
Okay.
The think tank would need to actually pick up those issues.
No.
What kind of knowledge do our young Muslims need?
Right.
What kind of skills do they need?
Yeah.
What kind of experience do they need to live as good Muslims in Birmingham,
Right.
but also as good citizens of Britain?
Okay.
And there's no contradiction between the two.
Right.
So one of the issues for the think tank will be how to develop that identity, how to help young Muslims develop that identity where they can be good Muslims,
Right.
but also progressive citizens
Okay.
of the of Britain.
Right.
This is not new. After all, if we go to Malaysia,
Right.
we go to Philippines, we go to Indonesia, we go to India,
Okay.
we go to Pakistan, we go to Bangladesh, we go to the whole of the Middle East,
Okay.
they contextualize
Right.
their faith,
Oh.
their Islam, according to the environment.
Okay.
And they've been doing that for so long.
Right.
Do you follow?
Yeah.
Muslims in Britain are new.
Okay.
How do we go through that process?
Okay.
That is important. So how can we develop our spirituality linked to our material well-being?
Right.
And the think tank will try to discuss this and debate this
Right.
with our young people.
Right.
Part of that narrative is also to do with culture.
Right.
There are some things which belong to another part of the world's culture,
Right.
but may not have much relevance here.
Right.
Do you follow?
Right. That's right.
So how do we make that distinction?
Right.
What are those parts of the culture that we brought with us, whether it is from Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Somalia, Eritrea,
Right.
or Middle East,
Okay.
which belong to those countries
Right.
but may not have much value here?
Okay.
And this is the process actually of the Sharia.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Do you follow me?
Yeah.
That is the process of the Sharia. Many people, when they talk about the Sharia, they are talking about cutting of hands, beheading people. That is not what the Sharia is about.
Right.
The Sharia provides a framework and a process to make decisions
Right.
on many new things or many new developments.
Right.
And this is another issue
Okay.
that we have within our community
Right.
in Birmingham. How do we educate our young Muslims
Right.
to have a better understanding of their faith
Okay.
so they can relate it to the British context in which they live?
Yeah, that's right.
And that is a huge task. For that,
Yeah.
we need good leaders, we need good scholars,
Right.
we need a good understanding of Birmingham and British society,
Okay.
and we need also to understand the global influences
Right.
that are playing a part or impacting on our lives every day.
Right.
And the think tank have to pick up those issues,
Okay.
because the Muslim community is not living as an island.
Right.
It's living amongst other communities, other faiths, people who don't belong to a faith. And a young Muslim needs to understand that,
Very right. Very
because unless they are able to understand it, how are they going to relate
right.
to those who may not be like them?
Right.
And part of Islam is about, the most important part of Islam is about peace.
Yes, very right. Yeah.
So how do we live peacefully with our neighbor who may not be a Muslim?
Right.
How do we live peacefully with our work colleague
Right.
who may not be a Muslim?
Right.
How do we live peacefully with those who are shopping with us
Right.
without disturbing them?
Right.
This is what Islam is about. Islam actually is how you live like the life of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ,
Sallallahu alaihi
in
wasallam.
accordance with the Quran,
Right.
to be an example
Right.
to the rest of humanity.
Right.
Every Muslim is an ambassador.
Right.
And if we fail in that role,
Right.
we fail as being Muslims, and we fail in our commitment
Right.
to Islam.
Very right.
So some of the practical issues that the think tank will obviously concern itself with
Right.
is how do we resolve this unemployment issue
Okay.
within our community?
Right.
How do we make our young people employable?
Right.
What do we need to do?
Right.
Because Islam does not allow us
Okay. Yeah, that's
to not work.
right. That's very right.
Quran makes it very clear,
Right.
whatever you put on your mouth, in your mouth, and whatever you put on the table, you have to earn it.
Right.
You have to work for it.
Right.
And we are not allowed to be unemployed.
Right. Al-Kasibu Habib.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are supposed to be working
Right.
for whatever we want. So, but to do that, we need education.
Yeah.
And we need good health.
Right.
Unfortunately, in our community, like a lot of other communities, we are suffering with ill health problems.
Right.
Heart conditions, diabetes is growing, so some of those ailments. So how do we become good, healthy Muslims?
Right.
Interestingly, that we have to do every day. 5 times a day,
Right.
at least we have to keep ourselves clean.
Right.
The prerequisite for salah
Right.
is being in ghusl
Right.
and being in wudu.
Right.
This is related to tahara, purification.
Right.
And purification is that of the body.
Okay.
The salah is purification of the spirit,
Right.
tazkiyah.
Right.
Unless we are both physically pure and spiritually pure,
Right.
we are not going to be healthy.
Right.
And if we are not healthy, we cannot work.
Right.
And if we are not healthy, if we do not work, we are not contributing to the well-being of our family
Right.
or ourselves, and we are not contributing to the well-being of our community and the wider society in which we live.
Right.
The third is immigration.
Now here, would you please explain how the think tank would be able to resolve these issues?
Okay, in terms of health,
Right.
we, through evidence,
Right.
we will identify those things that we are consuming which is unhealthy.
Right.
We already know
Right.
that too much fat
Right.
contributes to obesity,
Right.
contributes to heart conditions, etc.
Right.
So that is not new, but how do we help our community recognize
Right.
that this kind of obesity, this kind of ill health
Right.
is not going to contribute? So what we expect is that strategically
Right.
we should have a program
Right.
to support our community in the issue of ill health,
Right.
the challenges there, and what are the practical policies and steps we need to take to do that.
Right. Now can we
So
take
I
a
give you
break?
an example.
Yeah.
In the City Council,
Right.
the Public Health Department has a program
Right.
for testing for cardiovascular
Right.
ailments.
Okay.
They are prepared to provide those in our mosques,
Right.
in our masjids,
Right.
free of cost.
Okay.
So every person who attends the masjid,
Right.
male or female, can
Right.
get those free tests.
Okay. That's
And they will give advice if it is found that unfortunately you do not have
that's right.
a good heart,
Okay.
how to repair that situation.
Can we take a short break now?
Yes.
And then we will start the discussion from the same point.
Yeah.
Viewers, now we will take a short break. The discussion is very interesting and we will continue it after the break.